right, so you have a quiz tomorrow over section 8.1 and 8.2. It's all about the zero product rule and then solving using GCF and zero product rule. So we will go through each of the problems on the review up on the board. You can see in the directions how many points each question is worth. It's the exact same points breakdown tomorrow. So while it's only a one-sheet quiz, it is still worth 50 points. The questions are just worth a whole lot for each question. So make sure you're getting them right and asking questions if you need to. We did number 1 earlier already on the board. Those are the answers we got. Does anyone need more of an explanation on number 1? Alright, so for number 2, the zero product rule states that if two factors multiply together to give us a 0, either the first one is 0 or the second one is 0. When we solve for x, we're going to divide both sides by 3. What is 0 divided by 3? 0. So 0 is one of our solutions. And the other one we undo adding 1 by subtracting 1. What is 0 minus 1? Negative 1. So our two solutions for number 2 are 0 and negative 1. Any questions?
Yeah. Can you seriously, help me know?
Number 3, we have an x in the front and then an x plus 9. So x equals 0 is going to be one of our solutions. And then whatever makes this a 0 will be our other solution, which is minus 9. Minus 9. 0 minus 9 is negative 9. So now we have two solutions on that one. Now I'm going to jump to number 6 because it's very, very similar to those two, but I want to show you why it's a little different. So on this one, do you see how we have a number in the front of the parentheses?
Yeah.
What is it missing? An x. So when is 3 going to equal 0?
Never.
Never. You cannot solve that. That's when there's only one solution. And in this case, it's going to be 5 because when I solve for the x, I get a 5. So, quick recap. Up here, we had 3x as one of our factors. 3x equals 0 is true when the x part equals 0, and I know because I divided both sides by 3. Here, I just had the x equals 0. That's already solved. The x is already by itself, so I'm good. And then down here, same idea, except that it's not possible because there's no variable. And the number 3 never equals the number 0. You need the x part to get a solution. We don't have the x part, so we don't have a solution, but we do get a solution back here. So those are sort of the 3 options for when you have a number or a number and a variable in the front. Questions? Alright, let's jump back and fill in these two. These are pretty standard type problems. Either the first one equals 0 or the second one equals 0. 0 plus 4 equals 4. And 0 minus 4 equals negative 4. And number 5, I'm running out of space, sorry about that. Either x plus 8 equals 0 or x plus 7 equals 0. We subtract 8, subtract 8. So we get negative 8 as a solution. And negative 7 as a solution. Alright, same idea for number 7. We're going to make each of these equal to 0 and solve. So on the first one I subtract 9 and subtract 9. 0 minus 9 is negative 9. On the other one I add 9, and 0 plus 9 is positive 9. So positive 9 and negative 9 are your solutions on that one. Very, very similar problem, but with 2's. So we are going to get positive 2 when we add 2 to both sides, and negative 2 when we subtract 2 from both sides. Questions?
Yes.
Yes, what is your question?
Can you just write the answers instead of writing all that stuff?
Her question was, can you just write the answers, like if you can do it in your head? The only problem with that is if you did something wrong, I can't give you partial credit if I didn't see what your thought process was. So like if you just put like 2 answers and they were wrong, I would take all the points off because you didn't show me any work. But if you showed me work and you maybe just had like a sign mistake, I would just take 1 point off. So it's in your best interest to show all your work, but I mean, I understand a lot of you can do this in your head. Sorry, that wasn't really an answer.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Show your work. There you go. All right, here we have x equals to 0. That's already solved for us. The x is already by itself. And then back here we get positive 6. And last one in the zero product rule section, we're going to get positive 8 and positive 4. The biggest mistake I see on the zero product rule stuff is the signs. You can sort of double check. It's always the opposite sign. Like if you were subtracting, it should be positive. If you were subtracting, it should be positive. If you were adding, it should be negative. So it's always just the same number, opposite signs, unless you have a coefficient. We saw that on our homework. One of the answers was like negative 1/2, stuff like that. So if there is not a coefficient, if there's not a number in front of the x, like we were just saying, you could probably even do them in your head. Just make sure they have the opposite sign. We already did number 11 earlier together on the board. We came up with the solutions of 0 and negative 4. Does anyone need to see those again? All right, we're going to factor on number 12. So we have 1 and 3, x and x. For the 6, we have 1 and 6, 2 and 3 with an x. What's the GCF? 3x. So I'm going to divide each term by 3x, and I'm going to write a 3 in the front. That's going to give me x minus 2 equals 0. Now it looks like a problem from the section right above it. So you set each factor equal to 0, and then you solve for the x. And the first one, we have to divide both sides by 3. What's 0 divided by 3? 0. So 0 is one of your solutions. On this back one, sorry, I'm kind of out of space. What do you do to both sides? Add 2. 0 plus 2 is positive 2. Sorry, I must be writing really big today because I keep running out of room.
I got a question.
All right, on the next one, same thing. We have to find the GCF first. So we have 1 and 4, 2 and 2, x and x. We also have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4 with an x. What do they have in common? 4x. 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 So I'm going to divide each term by 4x. I'm going to write a 4x in the front of my answer. 4x squared divided by 4x leaves you with just that x. What's 12 divided by 4? 3. You already used the x, so you're good. Now set each factor equal to 0. So 4x equals 0. Or x plus 3 equals 0. On the first one, to get the x by itself, we divide by 4. What's 0 divided by 4? 0. So 0 is one solution. What's 0 minus 3? Negative 3 is my other solution. What questions do you have?
Can you put 1x if you still give x?
So you wrote like, yeah, I mean 1x and x are the same thing. So if you wrote like 1x equals 0, that's fine. Yep. All right, now these next two are very interesting problems because you could do these in the same way we solved equations in chapter 2. The reason is that there's only an x term, there's no x squared term. So if you know a different way to do 14 and 15, which you all do, and you prefer that way, go for it. I'm going to show you the chapter 8 way to do it. All right, so the GCF here is 2. So we're going to divide both terms by 2 and write a 2 in the front. When does 2 equal 0? Never. So that's sort of where the extra solution that we were getting in these types of problems drops off. You factored out just a regular old number, and a regular old number never equals the number 0. There's no x there. So you're kind of missing a really important part of that factor. And then back here you just get a 4. So x equals 4. Any questions? Alright, same thing on the next one. The GCF is 5. And I'm not making any lists because we're kind of running low on space and time. So if you need to see the lists, I can write them, but I'm just sort of skipping that step real quick. Same deal here. When does 5 equal 0? Never. So we are not going to get 2 solutions here. We're only going to get the 1 solution. And it's going to be what we get when we do 0 minus 3, which is negative 3. So again, 14 and 15, since there's no x squared, there's only an x. If you want to add 8 and then divide by 2, go for it. If you want to subtract 15 and then divide by 5, go for it. I'm not telling you you have to ignore your previous knowledge. If you want to solve it a way that you already know how to solve it, that's great. If you don't want to mix chapters, if you're like, I'm going straight GCF zero product rule, do it. It will work on all of these problems. It's really up to you. But anytime you have an x squared, you're probably going to get 2 solutions. Anytime you have just an x, you're probably going to get only 1.
Do we keep this?
You may keep this, take it home, study your quizzes tomorrow. And then remember, on Wednesday, we're in a different classroom.